This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and William Hill. Delighted today to be joined with Dave Coldwell. I mean, I say delighted, but we've received some disappointing news, mate. Dillian Whyte has failed there's been an adverse finding in a test that the British Boxing Board of Control have notified Matchroom, and the fight with AJ is now off next week. I mean, your initial thoughts hearing that?
It literally is initial thoughts, because I've just come out of the gym and looked at my socials and I saw the statement from Matchroom and I was like, just can't believe it. It's just more bullshit for the sport, really. It's like we've had a great few days, haven't we? Last week with the Nui and Fulton, and then Crawford and Spence. Everyone's buzzing with the sport, and sport's on and up, and it lasts a few days, and then we get hit with this. And the thing is, the initial thing is, it's like, so what's going to happen? Because of everything that goes off, there's always like an underlying issue on these adverse findings and things like that. Nobody seems to know exactly what it is, what's going to happen. Everything's in limbo now for weeks, months, whatever. So it's just, all it does is it just clarifies and it underlines that there's a real issue in boxing. For years we took the piss out of cycling, and that was seen as a dirty sport. Boxing right now, it just seems as though, it's the same sort of thing. There's people that are saying, the testing system's flawed, or this, that, and other. Certain things are getting tested for, and other things aren't. Whatever it is not working. And there's people that are failing tests, but then there's excuses behind why they failed tests. So there's always this grey matter, and nothing's black and white. I think the testing procedure needs to be solid, and the punishments and the punishments, the sentences as such, we'll call it whatever you want to call it, need to be strong enough where people are gonna think twice about taking PEDS, or at least you've got to be very, very strict, especially when you're at top end and you've got the money. You have people that are employed to look into your diet, to make sure everything that you put into your system's clean and healthy, and to get the best out of your performance. Surely they should be up on what you're consuming, whether it's on the ban list, or whether each ingredient, whatever. It's got to be like that. It's got to be like that. And when you've got that kind of money, and you have these people that you're employing to take care of your nutrition and things like that, then that should be part of what their remit is in terms of their job. And I don't know. I'm just sick to death with it. I don't know what the answer is. I ain't got the answer. It's just fucked up, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know the full details yet, but obviously we know there's been an adverse finding, but this isn't the first time we've had these issues with Dillian Whyte. So do you think there is some concern on that level, where we've seen it before with the Oscar Rivas fight?
Again, it's either way. When you don't know the information, whichever side of the fence you sit on, you're gonna get you're gonna either get criticised, or you could be potentially wrong, because the initial reaction is fucking hell, cheating bastard. Yeah. That's the initial reaction. Whether it's a first fail or a third fail, that's the initial reaction. Your gut reaction is, but then obviously we don't know what he's failed for yet, and we don't know what it is. But then when it's somebody that's failed 3 times, or this is the third adverse reaction, I've always been, the first one was the Jack 3D or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and,
it was,
and
like pre-workout.
as far as my interpretation was at the time was that obviously it was a drink that was on the shelf not long beforehand, and he'd gone and bought, which can happen quite easily with a lot of fighters that aren't educated. And at that stage of his career, Dillian didn't have the big team that he's got now and everything like that. And I've been with a fighter before who, out of my sight, went and bought something from a shop, after he'd weighed in, just an electrolyte drink, but he'd never checked that it was informed sport and it was clear and everything. And it was like, what are you doing? And so I understand how that can happen. But then the whole Oscar Rivas thing came about. I can't remember the ins and outs of that one. I don't know. But then, the B sample and all that sort of bollocks. But then now there's this one as well, and it's like, you're either the most unluckiest person in the sport, or you're the stupidest person in the sport, or you're a cheat, and that's unfortunately, I've always got on with Dillian and Dillian, but I don't know what he's failed for. All I know is that VADA have got some adverse findings, and it's a fail. And again, it's just not good for the sport. But is it good for the sport? Because VADA are cashing people out, so it's good that people are getting caught. So I think, for the love of the sport and by trying to be positive, you're always saying, no, it's not, there are some that are going to be cheating, but it's not as widespread as what you think. But then the more that we're going on, the more that you keep saying that, more people are failing. But then all these stupid excuses come out, or stupid reasons, not stupid, but reasons why I failed this test. There's always, whether it's meat, whether it's eggs, whether it's fucking whatever. And it's like, what do you do?
And you said there about the excuses and this and that, and one thing you mentioned there is about the initial reactions of being right and wrong. So obviously the common situation that you'll think of is the Conor Benn situation. We see how that's unfolded. Do you think now, because of that situation, everything that happened, people are a little bit more careful to call it how it is and say things like that because of it? Do you know what I mean?
Quite possibly, yeah, because it's very difficult, because I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the ins and outs of this drugs test. I don't know the ins and outs of this. The Conor Benn thing for me is just, my brain just can't take any more information. That's all clouded, hearsay, bullshit. I don't know what's what. The only thing that I know on that case is that there were 2 failed tests that were, 2 different dates. So I this reasoning with the eggs that the WBC gave, but then he said no, it's not that, because that's bullshit. It's about the test. But then now it is the eggs, and it's like all that sort of thing. I can't figure out what's what, because we've not got the information, so we don't know. So you can only make a judgment on what you know, what you've seen. So it's very, very hard. So and on the fighter's point of view, the fighter can't have the face on and be all pissed off with people that are just looking, well, you failed 2 drug tests. They can't be pissed off with that. It might very well be, with all their evidence and everything, that, actually, there's a massive fuck up here. And in that case, then there's a massive problem with the testing. But we don't know what the ins and outs are. So it's very hard to say that we should just believe that. And it's with this one as well. I don't know what he's failed for starters. You can fail a drugs test on a LEMSIP. I'm not saying he has, but there's things in a LEMSIP where you can, again, I've been like years and years ago. I remember somebody was about to have a LEMSIP, and like, I don't know if it was Dom or Brendan had to stop him and say, look, you can't have LEMSIP. So it's like, people don't know you can fail on shit like that. But I'm not making an excuse for Dillian Whyte, because I don't know what he's being failed on. So what I'm saying is, at this moment in time, you're asking me, I don't know what he's failed on. But bottom line is, it's the third time he's failed on something.
Yeah.
And you've got to say, you've got big money behind you, and you've got people that are looking after your career, and you've got people that are, looking into what you're eating and everything like that. And it's like,
I suppose in a way, whilst these is negative news, we would have wanted to see AJ Whyte. We'd want to see these fights, but when
I was looking forward to it.
we see Dillian Whyte getting tested positive. We also saw Amir Khan, this and that. I know the Amir Khan one's a bit of a different one because he actually obviously had a fight and he tested positive after. But when you see things like this, the high level athletes, is there sort of a positive way that high level athletes are getting caught out with stuff like this with PEDs?
Is it a He said, is it a positive? 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it to just show the testing's working?
100%. Because let me just tell you this, right? If the high level athletes that are on all this kind of money, that can afford to have the doctors and all these people that are one step ahead, that know how to mask and know how to, I'm not just talking about this case, I'm talking about what's happening. This is what's happening. These guys have got people with them that are one step in front of the drug testers, right? And it's only if they fuck up or if they're careless that they're getting caught and busted. So if they're cheating, they need to be busted. They need to be caught out, because this is a dangerous sport. This is a sport where, fighters are getting hurt regardless of whether they're clean or not. Clean athletes are hurting other clean athletes. Now, if you're taking PEDS in order to make yourself better, whether that's fitter, stronger, punch harder, or whatever, right? That's like, if something happens to someone, that's manslaughter.
Yeah.
No, God forbid it ever happens. It's going to happen. Yeah. It will happen because law averages. Sooner or later, one of these cheating fuckers is going to end up killing somebody.
Yeah.
Because in boxing, fighters die in boxing. This happens. Fighters get brain damage in boxing, at all levels. So sooner or later, this keeps getting widespread. And the problem is if there is no jeopardy in getting caught, a slap on the wrist, 6 months out. Fighters now are only fighting, top level, are only fighting twice a year anyway, so it makes no difference to them anyway. If they get a ban for 6 months, or get by the time it's done, a backdated year ban and all that sort of shit, there's no jeopardy for them. Mm-hmm. So they'll do it. It's worth the risk for them because they're going to earn plenty of money. And until that changes, then we have a serious problem in this sport where it's going to get worse and worse.
And that's the thing you say there. Do you think that there needs to be that the punishments need to be so strict? Because even you see guys like, a good example is Jarrell Miller, completely, so much.
I'm hearing people on Twitter saying that Miller should step in. It's like, what? Reward a drugs cheat over somebody else failing a test, a drugs test. What the fuck kind of talk is that? It's just. It's whichever. Listen, it's a difficult one because if you've served a ban, you've served a proper ban, and then you got to say, well, first time you failed a test, you get banned. There you go, serve your ban. Then you're allowed to come back in sport. Fair enough, right? But when you're failing 2 and 3 tests like that, you're a serial cheat.
Yeah,
I
suppose moving on from this, when you look at, Dillian Whyte had an opponent, Anthony Joshua, so now this leaves him in jeopardy with a week left. So, what do you think is next for him as an opponent? Do you think could we look at someone like McKean and Hrgovic, them stepping in? I suppose someone's going to be disappointed at the end of it.
Listen, as far as a promoter's concerned, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Matchroom show, if it's a Frank Warren show or a Sky show, when a fight falls through for whatever reason with a week to go, you are fucked.
Yeah.
Realistically, everyone's like, oh, that opponent, this opponent. Listen, you're in a position there where you either say, well, because you've got to be realistic. How many good fighters, good opponents are going to step in with a week's notice?
Yeah.
And then it's got to be in tandem with who you've been preparing for the the A side, the home fighter, whoever's promotion it is. They've got to accept it. They've got to think about their career. Let's not forget, in this case, AJ, you know, you've got to give him credit. He was willing to fight Dillian, which was a good fight. And with AJ, it's a risky fight, knowing that he's going into a Dillian Whyte fight and Deontay Wilder fight, or it looks like in winter. So he's not going to take somebody that's you know, maybe, you know, fresher than Dillian and more capable than Dillian at this stage to cause an upset. So if I'm managing AJ, I'm not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, let's just pick whoever we can get next, you know, to save the show, because you've got to think about his career and his next move. So the problem the promoter's got there is he's kind of got to make sure that he doesn't get his fighter beat, and that massive fight in jeopardy and then gone, you know. Because then if he does, then everyone's going to say, well, how stupid is that? What you fighting them for when you had that fight lined up? So the problem is there, but then you've got to balance it out. Well, there's people that have bought tickets. There's people that have paid for hotels. There's the undercard, where there's fighters that have been training and sacrificing everything. They're supposed to be boxing on that show. You can't, if you cancel the show there, it's like all that's gone to waste, and it's fucked everybody over somebody that's quite possibly been cheating, or failed a drugs test, at least. So the promoter kind of, they've got to put the show on really for everybody else, but then when you're charging the ticket prices that they have done for this, if you've paid, I don't know what ring sides were and what, but like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. If you paid that money to go and watch AJ against that fighter for that fight, and then either AJ is now not on the bill, what do you do about how do you work out? Obviously, if you want a refund, you can get a refund. It's not a problem, that. But then if you say, well, actually, I would go and still watch this replacement fight, but I ain't paying 600 quid for it, or whatever it is, 800 quid or whatever. How do they do? What do they do there? Do they do a discount? There's a lot of shit that has to go on now for the promoters to restructure everything. If it's AJ against Dempsey McKean or whatever, but if AJ doesn't fight, then it's like, well, you know, you might still want to go because you saw a couple of undercard fights. And, I fancy that. I'm still good at that. But again, if AJ is not on the bill, you're not going to pay that ticket money. So there's a lot. I don't know, and I won't want to be the promoters right now. It is, and they're going to get a lot of shit, and people love to see promoters fail and all that sort of stuff. But this is a difficult job for them. They didn't want Dillian Whyte to fail a drugs test. You know, they wanted this fight to go ahead and, you know, and everything to go smoothly, obviously. So, you know, it's not a position I'd like to be in. But then I won't want to be in a position of these people that are working their bollocks off every day, and, you know, they've got this money together because they want to have a good night out, and they forked out fortunes for hotels, for transport, and all that sort of stuff. Because, you know, then they're out of pocket, you know. So it's shit all round. It's just shit all round. It really is. And this is another black eye for boxing.
100%. Well, we'll sort of, on a more positive note, from what's been quite a sort of disappointing news. What have you got looking forward to? What are you going to get out soon? Some news for Hobie Price, Ebony. What's you going to be busy couple of months?
Yeah, busy couple of months. I've got Muhammad Ali, my young 18-year-old super bantamweight. He's having his third fight on the Birmingham bill on August 19th. Then I've got Hobie Price. Then I've got Stephen Cairns. He's boxing out in Denmark on September the 1st. I'm excited about Stephen. Very, very good fighter. He'll be boxing out there September 1st. Then Hobie's in the big British title final eliminator, October 7th on the Warrington and Lee Wood bill, Lee Wood Warrington bill. And then I'm just waiting for confirmation with Ebony. So yeah, perfect. Things are quite busy at the moment.
Perfect, Dave. I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. I know it's been a bit of a crazy couple of hours, to be honest. So I appreciate you giving it.
It is, and there is, you know, the thing is, because it's just, you're asking for instant reactions when we're not
nobody knows,
clued up on full details or anything. So you're always going to offend somebody and piss somebody else off, aren't you? So it's one of those things. But yeah, it is what it is.
Perfect. Dave, thank you for your time, and I'm sure we'll be catching up soon. All the best for the future, mate.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.
Thank you.